truth about upgrading your smartphone. That video's coming up right now. Let's go. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology, and welcome to the truth about upgrading your smartphone. Now remember, when I say truth, I mean my truth, the experience I have. I'm going to share with you what I've learned throughout the years of using some of the most premier smartphones in the industry, the truth about this, and let's get into the first reason. So one truth about smartphone upgrading, and goes with any material thing in life, is that it's always going to have a limited time of that newness feeling. Now, smartphones in general typically have even shorter because they typically get upgraded every year. However, if you are on the latest one, it should feel pretty fresh for about a year or so, maybe 6 months to 8 months if you're using an Android, because they constantly are getting updated all the time. But that initial 2 weeks, I call it the honeymoon phase, that initial 2 weeks or month or so of using it, that's when it really feels amazing. But after that, you just start to appreciate how good the phone is, but it doesn't feel quite new anymore. So I think, as humans in general, we definitely are always desiring something better. It's just in our nature. We like to grow, we evolve, and our phones evolve too. But at the same time, just keep that in mind when upgrading. It's always that newness feeling's always gonna fall off eventually. The next truth about upgrading our smartphone is that yearly smartphone upgrades can be addictive. It's kind of similar to, if you really love phones, as getting, some new clothes, some new sneakers. Getting anything new can become addictive if you don't be careful with your, purchasing habits. But at the same time, it's something that if you enjoy smartphones, why not, upgrade and enjoy the ride while you are here alive on this earth. So I always think like that. But at the same time, I also think you better get something you really like, or you're gonna be disappointed in the long term. But it can be addictive when you see triple cameras, and then your old phone had a dual camera, then the next phone has a 4 camera, hexa camera coming soon, an octa camera, the drill. Every year there's just something that pulls you in. The iPhone XR with its beautiful freaking colors, just like, oh my, I gotta have that color. Give me that red over there. And that iPhone XR, give me that yellow, give me that white. Yeah, nobody likes the yellow, I've heard. But give me that blue, give me that black, give me that white XR. I mean, these things just pull you in. So the truth about upgrading your smartphones is that it can become very addictive. And smartphone companies do know this. That's why they always market some of the most addictive features, like OnePlus, for example, no notch, all screen. We've been desiring this forever, and when we see it, we just want it. We just want that all screen OnePlus 7 Pro. Same with the iPhone here. We do like pretty things, and when Apple made the gold iPhone XS, that just draws people in if they like premium gadgets. It's just a pretty luxurious looking phone. So yes, companies know this, and their marketing departments definitely do exploit this very thing. The next truth is that changing different designs when you are upgrading does give you a totally new feeling when upgrading your smartphone. So you won't feel too much of a difference if you had a XR and you bought a XS Max, or you had a 10 and you bought a XR. They're not that much different. But if you had something like this, an iPhone 6s, and you came to the XR, that's gonna feel very different. So what I've learned in my experience is, one of the main things that's true when upgrading is that you really want to look for a completely redesigned smartphone on the outside, the external body, because you feel that more sometimes than you do the processor speed and stuff like that. Now with the Galaxy S8, when they went to the Galaxy S9, we're not discussing the S10 here, but when they went to the S9, that phone, actually I could feel the processor upgrades, but the body was so similar to the S8, I could see why it didn't really, crush it in the sales. So this next one is upgrading your phone. A truth I've learned is that if you don't do this at the beginning when you have a pre-order bundle deal, you could be missing out on such a great value. But at the same time, if you wait too long, that phone becomes kind of a tricky investment, because, like, for example, if you buy a Galaxy Note 8 right now, or an S8, while still very good smartphones, they're competent, they're not going to net you really anything back in return when it comes to going to sell those phones. So I really kind of have this little time limit on myself. Like, if I don't get the phone within the first 6 months into the phone's cycle, I will look for a refurbed phone that's like new, or a promotional deal that's going on at the time. on a newer device, because once you get 6-8 months down into the cycle, that phone is likely going to be upgraded soon, and you see resale values drop a lot on the Android devices. The iPhones hold them a little bit longer, but they still start to become, a little bit old. So one truth about upgrading phones I've learned is that you probably want to get it, if you're going to get the newest phone, get it within the first 6 to 8 months. Anything past that, you're already going to be losing out even more on that investment. The next one is upgrading your smartphone is highly subjective. No matter what smartphone reviewer on the planet tells you, I don't care what they tell you, whether it's me or any others out there, it's very much you, like what you like the most, and what you think is an upgrade probably is not what I think is an upgrade, depending on my life experience. So if you had a cheap phone and then you got a 10R, you're gonna feel like this is a substantial upgrade. It's a beautiful smartphone for you. But for me, because I've personally used phones with much higher resolution screens, much higher RAM, the 10R did not feel like a major update for me. The 10S Max is more up my alley, but that's just because this phone represents something that I actually feel like is an upgrade based on the phones that I've used prior. So that really is something that's very true. Upgrading your smartphone is super highly subjective. All we can do as reviewers is tell you what we think is the best phones out there, what we experience using these. But when it comes down to what's gonna feel like a true upgrade to you, that really comes down to your personal needs and what you feel is an upgrade from what you previously owned in your smartphone. Although I think the OnePlus 7 Pro can feel like an upgrade to almost anybody with that all-screen beauty display right there. Eventually, upgrading your smartphone does become necessary. And the truth that I've learned is that these phones can last a lot longer than typically most people keep them. The iPhone 6 here, while I don't like this phone much because of its performance, it actually still works. It's pretty functional. I mean, most people could probably get by. They have to wait a little bit on the speed of the phone, but it works here in 2019. I mean, phones last. But at the same time, it starts to become necessary after your battery starts to deplete, you're having a horrible camera experience, you're really not, appreciating that. And maybe you just feel like that phone just looks outdated and it just doesn't match your personal style at the time. I mean, if you got new kicks, you got a new shirt, you got new pants, you got a new backpack, you're going to school and you got an old phone, something's not matching there. So I'm just saying, like, that matters to some people out there. It could be about fashion for some people as well, and fitting in their personal style. So certain things like that do matter. Eventually an upgrade does become necessary only, I think, when the hardware starts to fail you or the software starts to fail you. So if you take anything from this video on the truth about upgrading your smartphone, take this one: the return period on your phone. Now, Apple has a pretty generous return policy. If you just go in a store, they really don't give you no hassle. You just give them the phone back and they'll give you your money back really quickly. Have had a great experience there. Other smartphone manufacturers also have a similar return policy in terms of the dates. It's usually 14 to 30 days depending on who you're buying it from. And if you are a member of certain, stores reward programs, you might get an extended period of return. But here are some of the telltale signs that you should be looking to return that phone after initial purchase, and you should consider getting a different device. Number one, you're thinking about another phone. If you got the 10S Max and you're thinking, I should have just got the 10R, then you probably should have. I mean, it's intuition. You probably should have got the 10R. Next up, if you are thinking about, I don't love this phone every time I use it. Like, you don't have that feeling of, I really, really like using this device. It gives you a happy feeling every time you use it. Then it's probably not the best device for you. But on the other hand, if you pick it up and you're like, man, I love this phone, then that's one you definitely want to hold on to. So those are some telltale signs of buyer's remorse. And lastly, if you're getting a lot of glitches or you got a lemon device, don't hold on and think that, things are going to get better, because most of the time they do not get better. So if you start getting weird glitches and things that just are random, get rid of that thing and get a replacement model ASAP. So take that from this video when upgrading a smartphone. It's something you strongly want to keep in mind. The next truth about upgrading smartphones is that you don't always need to upgrade a smartphone to feel like you got an upgrade. You can simply get some accessories. For example, this is a folio red, product red case for the iPhone XS Max, and putting it in that case, I'm not gonna do it now because it's pretty tight to take it out of there, but putting it in this case really does change the feel of this phone. It gives it a red look. It also gives it a leathery feel because of a leather product red folio case. And I'm just saying, like, when it comes to upgrading your phone, if you do get a nice accessory upgrade, you might not even need to upgrade if you're just looking to do something new and it's getting a little boring for you. So consider that. That's something I've learned, and it's a truth I've learned about upgrading my phone. On the same token, be careful with these accessories. Some of them are pretty low quality. I'm not saying the Super Shields is. Some of them though are pretty low quality, and sometimes you'll just get a bunch of stuff and you'll just start accumulating cases and things, and you really have a hard time selling these because most people are not going to buy a used case. Cases are so cheap, most people just buy them new. So be careful to just get the accessory you really like, or you're going to end up having a stash of cases that you don't know what to do with when you get rid of that phone. The next one on my list is smartphone upgrades can be counterproductive in the sense that they don't always work for you. For example, if you were a Samsung Galaxy user and you love taking advantage of the multitasking features that do come with this device. So if I go into pop view, for example, I'm going to talk about this a little bit here. If you were getting a lot of productivity out of features like this and you come to an iPhone because you just want to try it out and all that, you might actually end up not enjoying how the iPhone only does a single app at a time on this device. And that could be something that's counterproductive in your upgrade. So really do your research and watch tech reviews before you buy a smartphone. Specifically pay attention to the user experience or the software sections within those various reviews before you do buy, because it could be a counterproductive upgrade and you might have some buyer's remorse later down the road when you find out that a certain phone is not giving you the feature set that you wanted. On the flip side, if you thought that Samsung was just throwing too many features in there and you wanted something more clean, you might consider the Oxygen OS on the OnePlus 7 Pro. So in conclusion, phones are always going to advance, they're always going to get better, and they're getting harder and harder to differentiate from themselves. Besides all of these phones being in different colors and the camera being up and sideways, there is not a big difference. They're all glass phones, they all have beautiful screens, they all have great cameras, they're all good on battery life, and they're all fast, and they all do basically the same things when you really break it down. So yes, phones are really amazing these days. They're at a high level. Mid-rangers are at a high level, and these were the truths that I've learned about upgrading my smartphones. Now, I want to know your take, your truths about upgrading your smartphone. If there's stuff that I left out, please drop it down below in the comment. I want to hear what you guys got to say, because I know you guys have upgraded your phones a couple times as well. So share those comments and thoughts you have about this down below with the community. Thumbs up if you enjoyed. I wanted to get this out because upgrade season's coming with all these new phones going into the holiday season. So I want to have this out before then. So here it is. Subscribe if you haven't already. Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to be well. Peace.